Hi, my name's Dan. So this is a soundtrack album for the musical stage show, and it's my first time listening to it, and I am not familiar with the show Hair, and I am now only to the extent that I've done some reading about it. And I did initially confuse it with Hairspray. I have heard of Hair, and I've heard of Hairspray, and I have seen the film of Hairspray. I couldn't tell you from memory what any of the songs are in it, so I was kind of somehow in my mind this was probably going to be Hairspray, but it isn't. Two completely different things. Right. So this was a 1967 musical that was started off Broadway and became a hit musical. And I have read about it, as I said, so I've got a bit of the story um, uh, behind what's going on. And I got the feeling that the show basically only really has a bit of a story and a lot of songs. And some shows are like this. So it's about somebody who's struggling with a decision whether to dodge the draft or not, and it's kind of a hairy hippie type kind of situation. You'd think that this would be more at home in San Francisco, but they're set in New York. There is San Francisco is mentioned here, and underneath this, it's about countercultural hippie movement stuff, typified or being symbolized by the long hair. And there's one line in it, something like, because we look different, you assume we're subversive. And it's trying to debunk that idea. Um, and just going to take a small diversion here, which is that, so these are people who are, um, their appearance is different to what's the norm or the accepted norm in society. And they're saying to the rest of society, don't judge us just because of our appearance. But sometimes I feel like when it's appearance by choice, and please do not uh, take from this that you think I'm ultra conservative, because I really am not. But it does feel a bit like, so putting it into a more modern context, somebody who had many, many, many piercings and all over their face, and then saying, but just because I've got all these piercings, you kind of make assumptions about what I'm like and what kind of person I am. Well, why did you get the piercings if you didn't want people to think you're different? If you want to feel like, look like you fit in, don't do that sort of thing. But if you do, that's fine. I'm quite up for you doing that. But then don't moan that people treat you as if you're different, because that's the signals that you're giving. If you have any comments about my strange attitude towards this, please do vent your fury at me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Um, Always on anything. So back to this album. Um, I'm going to use three words here, I think, that apply here: camp, kitsch, and louche. None of those are positive words. So my initial impression of this was I didn't like it that much. Having read about the show, it makes a bit more sense, but I'm still not really sold on it, I have to say. It's very much of its time, and I think this is the problem, really. So maybe if you saw this show back in the day and really loved it then, this would be a great album for you, because it brings back memories of that. Coming at it now in 2024, which, to be fair, is a long time on since when this was made, and it was made about social stuff that was happening at that time. I feel like it is definitely dated. I feel like musically it's dated as well, in the sense that musicals have come on quite a long way since then in terms of style. So it feels very musical theatre. It feels jazz hands and dancing. Everything's very over exaggerated, and there's lots of chorus stuff in here. Tracks that I knew here are Age of Aquarius, which from knowing it from the past, it's okay. I have to say, when I heard it, Age of the Aquarius, which is the opening track and stuff, I thought, oh, okay, maybe this is going to be quite nice and funky. Which, because Age of Aquarius isn't very, but it is a little bit. I also knew Let the Sunshine In, which is right at the end. Yeah, so it's not as funky as I was hoping it would be, and maybe that's what put me off. It's also got I've got no various things and I've got life, so it's got that, which I know as a song by, and I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, my name. I've got life, which actually I really like. Um, and I didn't realise that that had originated from here, from her. So I like that bit of it. It was apparently one of the first, or maybe even the first, rock musical or rock opera, as you might say. It's got a rock band. So it was breaking ground. I understand that. It was challenging people's perceptions, and I understand that as well. Um, uh, but as I say, I was hoping it'd be more funky. The best bit for me in it was actually the bass playing. The bass playing was very nice. Yeah. And actually, I'd say musically, it's not too bad. It was just kind of the show itself, I think. So for 1967, this would be really shocking. It's got lists of drugs of all sorts of various kinds. It's got lists of sexual practices. It's got ironic racism in here. I assume it's ironic from the setting. Initially, I wasn't really sure about this. Lyrically, I found it to be quite shallow, I'm afraid. It's trying to do too much and to be too shocking. I found it a bit cheap, I think is the word that I'm going to use. Again, by today's standards, and take it from somebody who is not a fan generally of musicals. So it kind of hit some of my musicals button. There are high spots, but there are irritations as well. So, as always, I'd like to invite you to tell me what you think of this album. I know that there will be people out there who absolutely love this and think it might have been the best thing ever. Please do, rail against me. I'm very up for people who love things that I'm not a great fan of. Telling us why, and come and share your knowledge and your enthusiasm. That would be great. The next review on this channel will be of Janet by Janet Jackson, but that's it from me for now.
She asks me why I'm just a hairy guy. I'm hairy noon and night, hair that's a fright. I'm hairy high and low. Don't ask me why, don't know. It's not for lack of